just wanted to have a look at a few scriptures today about pride and humility, um, and just how they affect us in our walk in the Lord. Um, they something that, as imperfect humans, we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, and it's just if we can recognize when we're exhibiting these attributes, then we can we can deal with it and make good decisions and positive changes. But they affect our walk in the Lord. Obviously, one of them drives us away from the Lord, like drives a wedge between us and the Lord, and the other one removes that wedge and brings us closer. But anyway, we'll have a look at some scriptures. We'll go to Isaiah chapter 14. Isaiah chapter 14, and we'll start in verse 13. For you have said in your heart, I will ascend into the heavens. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will also sit on the mount of the congregation on the farthest sides of the earth. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. And this is talking about the fall of Lucifer. And you notice everything that is said in there. I will exalt my throne. I will sit above the highest stars. I will ascend above the heights. Like, I will put myself first. I will elevate myself, and that's the ultimate example of pride, and that's putting, like it's saying, Lucifer will put himself first. He will elevate himself, and that's a good warning there, and that's what we don't want to do. Like, we want to that's going in the opposite direction. That's look, instead of looking at yourself and how we can serve, that's putting our he's putting himself first, and that's, we want to have a look, and like, I'm not, this isn't this is more for myself and self-reflection, but we want to, instead of looking at how we can get ourselves ahead and how we can put ourselves up high, we need to look at the opposite of that. How can we serve others, and how can we put others' needs before our own? And that's the example that Jesus gives to us. But we don't want to look at situations in our lives and see how we can benefit from them and what's good for us. We want to see, like, instead of saying, oh, how can I get something out of this, say, what can I give? How can I add to that? Or how can I help give to others? We go to Proverbs chapter 16. Proverbs chapter 16, verse 18. Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. Better to be of humble spirit with the lowly than to divide the spoil with the proud. And that's it exactly. Elevating ourselves and being prideful is going to lead to our downfall and our destruction, as it was for Satan. But better to be humble of a humble spirit with the lowly than to have a share of the spoils with the proud. And that's being content with what we have and being content with, you know, like finding joy in serving others. That's going to be the blessed attitude. Um, I've I've been working at my company for quite a while now. I had my eighth year anniversary back in June, so um, it's kind of crazy to think about. I'm 30, like nearly 35, and I'm like one of the senior mechanics at work because all the old guys have either retired or they're not around anymore. But it's when I first started there, as I guess I had this attitude of, growing up being an apprentice. I'm just like the young guy. I don't really know anything, and so I started at the company, and one of the guys there asked for my help with something, and we were able to get it figured out pretty quickly. And he's like, "Oh man, like you really know what you're doing." It's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I just got here. I'm like, you know, I'm just figuring it out like everybody else. But come to that realization that I'm I actually do know something, and all these young guys are like looking up to me, and I'm like, I didn't even realize in that position, and being there for 8 years now, um, it's more experience, more time on the job, and it would be very easy to kind of get that attitude of I'm the big cheese, like I can figure everything out, but it's when you have that attitude, you build yourself up. That just means when it all goes wrong, you got a lot further to fall. So it's very easy to just stay humble and just try and figure stuff out. And you start to get to the point where you have more wins than losses, but the losses still come. And if like being humble about it, and just try not being, if I go around like, yeah, I'm like, the best of the best, we'll figure it out. Then, when something stumps you, they're like, well, you've been telling everybody how good you are, so how come you can't figure this out? But it's, I just like focusing on the work that I have, just figuring stuff out. And when we figure stuff out quickly, it's awesome. And, every now and then you get stumped, and we just work through it. And, but yeah, it's the attitude of just not being the big cheese and not being the best of the best, but just putting my head down and doing the work, and having the Lord bless it. So we'll move on to we'll have a quick. I know Brother Ben mentioned this verse in his talk. It's kind of interesting, the overlap at Mark chapter 9. Um, yeah, on the way to Capernaum, um, when Jesus was talking about the dispute amongst the disciples, um, I just thought that was an interesting little verse there. Verse 33. Then he came to Capernaum, and when he was in the house, he asked them, "What was it you disputed amongst yourselves on the road?" But they kept silent, for on the road they had disputed among themselves who would be the greatest. And he sat down and called the 12 and said to them, "If anyone desires to be first, he shall be last of all and servant of all." And they were quarreling amongst themselves as to who was going to be, first, the first disciple. But Jesus straightened that out, and there, you don't want to be the first of anything. They're all equal, and they all should be serving equally, because it's not about who's going to be the chief disciple amongst the rest of them. It's all about following Jesus and doing his will, because the rest of it doesn't matter. Carry on here. So we had a look at a few scriptures about being prideful, but and how that can draw us away from God by elevating ourselves. Um, but humility is not weakness; it's strength under control, and the ability for us to look inwards and look at our own shortcomings and how we can improve. We'll go to Matthew chapter 8. Matthew chapter 8 and verse 5. Now when Jesus had entered Capernaum, a centurion came to him pleading with him, saying, Lord, my servant is lying at home, paralyzed, dreadfully tormented. And Jesus said to him, I'll come and heal him. The centurion answered and said to him, Lord, I'm not worthy that you should come under my roof, but only speak a word, and my servant will be healed. For I also am a man under authority, having soldiers under me. And I say to this one, go, and he goes, and to another, come, and he comes, and to my servant, do this, and he does it. When Jesus heard it, he marveled, saying to those who followed, Assuredly, I say to you, I have not found such great faith, not even in Israel. And I say to you that many will come from the east and the west and sit down with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. But the sons of the kingdom will be cast out into outer darkness. There'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Then Jesus said to the centurion, Go your way, and as you have believed, so let it be done for you. And his servant was healed that same hour. So we have the centurion coming to Jesus, and instead he could have come to Jesus saying like, hey Jesus, like I'm a centurion, you need to come with me and heal my servant, and using his power and authority. But instead he came to Jesus with a humble heart, like where he was saying he wasn't worthy for Jesus to enter his roof, and just saying the word was good enough, and that he realized that he wasn't worthy, but still was asking of Jesus for a healing and believed that he could do it. And having that attitude of humility, and saying that we aren't above anyone, just believing the word of God, and putting needs to him in faith. That's the blessed attitude that we need to look for. So we're going to have a little look at Jesus, because he is like the ultimate example for us for humility, as he lived his whole life humbly, even up to his crucifixion. Isaiah chapter 53. So we'll start in Isaiah chapter 53 and verse 2. For he shall grow up before him as a tender plant, and as a root out of dry ground. He has no form or comeliness, and when we see him, there is no beauty that we should desire him. He is despised and rejected by men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. And we hid, as it were, our faces from him. He was despised, and we did not esteem him. Surely he has borne our griefs and carried our sorrows, yet we esteem him stricken, smitten by God, and afflicted. But he was wounded for our transgressions, he was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement for our peace was upon him, and by his stripes we are healed. We all like sheep have gone astray. We have turned everyone to his own way, and the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. He was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He was led as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before its shearers is silent, so he opened not his mouth. And that's talking about Jesus, um, living like he wasn't anyone like worth looking at. He lived humbly and lowly, and like the description we get given here, he was rejected by man. People turned away from him. He was the lowest of the low. He never once did anything for himself, but lived his life as the ultimate servant for everybody else. It's like he bore our sorrows and our iniquities and our griefs. He carried everything for us on his shoulders, and gave his life for us. We need to follow this example, and like the more we do for others and the less we do for ourselves, the closer we are going to draw to God, and that's the attitude that's going to be blessed. We just need to just humble ourselves in the sight of the Lord. In James chapter 4. Verse 10, humble yourselves in the sight of the Lord, and he will lift you up. Do not speak evil of one another, brethren. He who speaks evil of a brother and judges his brother speaks evil of the law and judges the law. But if you judge the law, you are not a doer of the law, but a judge. There is one lawgiver who is able to save and to destroy. Who are you to judge another? So we just need to walk humbly, looking inwards, looking at, instead of what we can get for ourselves or how to elevate ourselves, but to put others first. And the thing about that is, if we all put others first, we're all going to get looked after. And that's whether it's our brothers and sisters looking out for us, or if it's the Lord blessing that and looking out for us. If we do everything with a pure heart, and wanting to help everyone else, the Lord is going to raise us up, bless us, and bring us closer to Him. And so we just want to walk in the Lord, turning away from pride and drawing closer to God, and humbly spend time reading the Word, sharing testimonies, just walking, going about, just looking for witnessing opportunities, sharing our testimony with others is a form of service that we can give. And it might bring someone to the Lord, and wouldn't that be a blessing if every one of us were able to witness to someone and get them to come along. But we just want to remember that humility opens the doors, softens hearts, and brings blessings to us, whereas pride isolates us, blinds us, and ultimately leads us to destruction. So I just like to leave those thoughts there.